All right, good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to today's webinar event. My name is Joshua, and I'm going to be your presenter today. It's promptly 2 p.m. Eastern Time, albeit my CPU, my computer shows about 3 minutes before that, but I'm pretty sure it is 2 p.m. We're going to get started here. We might have some folks kind of pop in, but we're not going to get started on our topic here for another 60 seconds or so. For those of you that have heard this spiel before, please bear with us. If you see the little red bar or arrow on the sidebar of your control panel and you have a single monitor set up, please click that red arrow to minimize the webinar control panel. Kind of gets it out of the way there, minimizes that, and allows you to see the full visual effect of the presentation here today. Or if you've got a dual monitor set up, just drag that out to your second desktop just to get it out of the way. On that control panel, of course, you will find the questions panel there, that if you have any questions for me, I'm going to ask that you do type the questions into that questions panel there. I will do my best to keep an eye on things. I'm pretty good about repeating the question for everybody's benefit, and we'll see what we can't do to get those answered. I ask that we simply keep the questions topical, meaning about our end-of-year procedure for accounting or manage years processes in accounting. I'm not equipped to handle or answer other questions about other portions of the webinar, and we may have another event on something that you have questions about. And of course, our support technicians are simply a phone call away. They're right outside here, 800-533-5227, and we're always available and happy to answer questions for you. The webinar topic today can be found in Accounting 202 or A202 workbook, pages 37 to 41. And it's talking about managing years in Church Windows accounting. A bulk or a good deal of what we're going to be discussing today can already be found under our website, churchwindows.com, under our New Year Prep and Help page here. So if we go down to our accounting, either we've got our accounting New Year Steps setup movie, or the accounting New Year Steps document. Probably about 50% of what we're going to discuss today is already covered in that there. So a video of today's webinar event will also be on our YouTube channel by no later than 5 p.m. this coming Friday, albeit it is Thanksgiving weekend, of course. But just an FYI, there's already lots of information about this available out there. So again, A202, pages 37 to 41. You may look at purchasing the workbooks on our website there. They're always available for download if you're interested in those. They are formatted differently from the help files. So let's go into accounting. This manage years function really hasn't changed very much in the past couple of versions. So if we go up to special functions at the very top, we see here our option called Manage Years. Let me get out my highlighter friend here, draw a little focus right here, right up here. Manage Years, right up here. Everybody can see that with my arrow. Yeah, I've gotten a little better at drawing those over the years. When we click Manage Years, it reveals a menu. That menu is listed on page 38 of our workbook pages there. There are lots of things in this list. We're only going to talk about half of these. There simply isn't enough time in the 20 minutes to discuss that, so we're going to talk about the few of the most important ones here. So the first one that we're looking at is the one that says change to another existing accounting year. If you wish to go back to another accounting year, you can simply come into Manage Years, Special Functions, Manage Years, change to another existing accounting year, and when we click on that, it simply reveals a list of any of the prior or earlier or different accounting years that we may want to go back and look at. When you return to that year, so let's say we want to go back and look at 2015, I simply choose it from the list or whatever year I'm wanting. I simply see that list in the showing up there. I simply click OK, and one of the things I tell folks to look at is we notice right here our accounting year changes right here in the middle of our screen. Well, I said I was getting better at drawing arrows. Clearly, I have not been very good at that. So here our accounting year now says January through December 2014. Okay, so that confirms for us that we have changed our year back. Okay. About that manage years change to another existing accounting year, if you click the down arrow, it does reveal the same information that it reveals under our View Accounting Year Information column. So it tells us the start and end date. So if, say, we had changed from a calendar to a fiscal year or fiscal to a calendar year at any point, it would show different start and end dates here. But in this case, our training data that we've been using for a long time now, 11 or 12 years, it looks like, 10, 11 years, is all remaining on a calendar profile, January through December. The closed tells us, the checkbox here would tell us that a year was closed. The hard close feature was used, so we noticed back in 2007 that that was done. And that the beginning balances are always brought forward as finalized unless you start over with entering a brand new chart of accounts. There's a lot of questions about that. Beginning balance is finalized. Folks ask us a lot. Well, I never finalized my beginning balances for 2016. That's right, and that's true because the system doesn't, Church Windows, when we start our 2017 year here in a minute, is going to show that those beginning balances were finalized too. And the only way that we can have that box unchecked for beginning balance finalized is if we start over and set up a brand new chart of accounts for 2017. Okay? At which point then, once the new chart of accounts was entered, then we would be able to manually edit our beginning balances and then subsequently finalize them. Okay? So we're going to come back into 2016. Just be aware that we're not going to really talk about this, though, or we are, but it's going to occur a little bit later. There's no requirement for Church Windows to close a year. Okay, so if you look at our list under Special Functions, Manage Years, change to another existing accounting year, none of those other years except 2007 were finalized or closed, because the system doesn't require it. It's simply an option that we make available to our users. However, one of the most important things that I want to make clear about this change to a different accounting year is that I don't have to change the year to be able to run reports, okay? That, while I'm in 2016, if I go, I want to go look at my treasurer's report for 2015 or earlier, I can go up to Reports and Export, to Financial and Treasurer's Report, and right here in the upper left of my treasurer's report screen, right here, it says Accounting Year. I can just choose the prior year and run a report for any accounting year I wish from that list. So if I go, okay, I want to run my treasurer's report for 2015, run it through December. There it is. I've just run my treasurer's report through December 31st of 2015 while still staying in 2016. Okay? Really important. A lot of folks who came over from our old system, Financial, yes, I couldn't do that. I had to physically change the year back in order to run a report, but now that you're working with accounting, I can run a report for any accounting year I want from the current year. I don't have to change the year in order to do that. Yes, if I want to go back and post transactions or make corrections or anything else like that, you bet. I need to change my year under Special Functions, manage years, change to another existing accounting year. But in order to run reports, I can do it all from the current year. Okay? Second, and this is one that right here that folks are doing a lot at this point, and maybe why some of you are attending today, is set up new accounting year. We're on page 39 of our workbook pages now. So when I click on set up new accounting year, it opens up and asks me, or it is by default, wanting to set up a next accounting year that runs January through December 2017. Or I can go back and create an earlier accounting year too that doesn't exist, in this case 2006, if I want. Okay? By default, the system wants to copy forward the chart of accounts from my prior accounting year, and it does ask me if I want to copy my budgets as well. And that's what we're going to do here. We are going to copy our current chart of accounts from 16, and we are going to copy our budget amounts. I get this about a half a dozen of these questions throughout the week is, hey Josh, can I go in and edit my budget amounts if I copy them forward? And of course the answer to that is yes. So if I do copy my chart of accounts and copy my budget amounts, I can still go in and make changes to my chart of accounts. I can still change my budgets. I can do pretty much anything I wish. Okay? So that's what we're going to wind up doing for our purposes of our call, but I do want to, or for the purposes of our webinar, but I do want to show you the create empty chart of accounts too. So, if the church determines that, that the chart of accounts and the transactions and how things have been done in accounting up until the end of, say, 2016 are just in really bad shape and they can't be recovered, and they want to start over, establishing essentially a line in time between the end of 16 and moving forward from that point on, you can choose the option create empty chart of accounts. So here we are presented with some further options. Do I want to use account numbers? We strongly recommend you use account numbers. It offers a completely different level of reporting flexibility when you do. It limits you to sorting reports alphabetically when you don't. Okay? So when we use account numbers, we can sort by number or account name. Okay? But if I don't use account numbers, all I have is an alphabetic sort. Also, it allows us to set and establish our account number definition. So when I go, okay, I want to, here's my example just below that. You can see that. Let me get my drawing out of the way. Here's our sample based on a pound, dot, pound, pound, dot, pound, pound, pound structure. So if I go, okay, I want to add a trailing digit to that fourth set, I add that pound sign, and right there it changes my sample, my example. Okay? The changing of the account number structure can pretty much be done at any point throughout a year too, but it could mean that there is some extensive work that needs to be made to your chart of accounts if you do that. But we're not going to create an empty chart of accounts. Once you do this, it starts over with the chart of accounts wizard from square one. There's not a single account in your chart of accounts, and you have to enter it entirely again. Okay? But we're not going to do that. We're going to copy our current chart of accounts from 16 to 17, and we are going to copy our budget amounts. We click OK. The creating empty chart of accounts, folks, is generally in a situation where things are so dire that nothing can be recovered, or nothing's worth your time to recover from your previous year's chart of accounts. So again, things are pretty dire at that point. So we're going to copy a chart of accounts from 16 and our budget amounts. We simply click OK. We now notice that our screen changes to January through December 2017. Okay. All right, so that we've now opened the new year, and now when I want to toggle back and forth to my prior year, I simply go back up to Special Functions, Manage Years, change to another existing accounting year. 2016 is there by default, and I simply click OK. Okay? As stated before, under Special Functions, Manage Years, our third option called View Accounting Year Information. If I click on that, it basically opens up the same window that I see when I click the drop down at my change to another existing accounting year, with one, kind of important exception, is it does reveal who closed a year, if somebody did use the hard close function, and who finalized our beginning balances. We don't have any data or any security set up in our data for our webinars for Church Windows, so we don't have that. But in this case, it would show, if you've got usernames and passwords to get into Church Windows, who closed a year if that feature was used, and who finalized the beginning balances. Okay? But all the same start and end date, if the year is closed, and where the beginning balances finalized are all there as we see in that other screen. Okay, so it's really just informational. So yeah, this is just to be able to, as indicate, view financial year or accounting year information, nothing else. Can't do anything on this window. I can just look at it. Okay. Under Manage Years, again, I do have under my, I have here under fifth option down is called Recopy Chart of Accounts from Prior Accounting Year. If you've made significant changes to your chart of accounts in, say, 2016, and I've already opened the new year, and I want to bring forward those changes, I can choose this Recopy Chart of Accounts function. Okay? So, what's important here to understand is that delete January through December 2000. Oops, I'm sorry, I don't want to do that. I'm in the wrong year. Yeah, I can't do that. If I do that in 2016, notice, I was misunderstanding. The delete January through December 2016 and recopy accounting year from 2015 is not available because I've posted transactions in 2016. So that's where the line is drawn in terms of that capability. Is yes, if I change my year forward now into 2017 and I go back up to special functions, manage years, and recopy chart of accounts, I can choose delete 17 and recopy from 16. Why? Because I haven't entered any transactions in the new year. Okay? As soon as you post one transaction in that new accounting year, that delete button is gray. However, if you have brought or made changes to details like brought in new accounting name information or bank names or vendor addresses, we can choose the update account details from the prior year. That can pretty much be done at any time. Okay? But as soon as we post a transaction in 17, the only option we have is to update the details, not the recopy chart of accounts. Okay? I see some questions coming in here, folks. I'll get to that here in just a couple minutes as soon as I'm done wrapping up my topic here. After I've opened up my new accounting year, the only step of the end of year procedure that you're going to run again is if we go up to manage years, and we're going to choose the update beginning balances from prior accounting year ending balances. I'm going to do that now to bring forward my balances as of November 21st. But when I go back in next week, next month, make further changes to 2016, I'm going to need to run this function again. So it says, are you sure you want to update beginning balances or update balances from January through December of 17 from 2016? And I'm going to click yes. It says updating, and it says balances were updated successfully. So now if I were to look at my balance sheet through December 31st of 16, compare that to my beginning balance column for 17, those two columns would have the exact same totals on them. You can update the beginning balances from the prior accounting year to the new year as many times as you wish. There's no restriction on that. And I will state that it is probably the most commonly overlooked step of the end of year procedure that users forget to do at any point. Okay? Updating the beginning balances. You want to have those ending balance sheet totals match the beginning balances for the new year. Unless we're starting over with an empty chart of accounts, maybe they won't. Okay? If you're unsure if that's the case and you want to do that, we strongly advise then making a backup of your accounting data before updating your beginning balances. If you're unsure, there's no undo for updating the beginning balances. So if you're unsure if you should or not, make a backup of accounting before you do that, or of your Church Windows data. Okay? And finally, by going back into Manage Years, close accounting year. That is an actual hard close that we put into Church Windows that allows users to close an accounting year and basically means we want to run reports for it, but we have no intention of going back and posting any further transactions or making amendments or corrections to those transactions. The year is closed. Okay? Once an accounting year is closed, it cannot be reopened. You can go back and look at it, you can run reports, you can do that stuff, but you cannot change transactions. Okay? Folks, there's no undo for that. Okay? If you close a year prematurely or by mistake, our technicians are unable to open it for you. There's a reason why that's in the software, and that is because that's a feature that it's there to maintain an audit trail for you. And so when a year is closed, our technicians are unable to open the accounting year for you. Okay? So again, there's no requirement to close an accounting year in the software. It's optional only, but once you do close it, it's closed. There's no reopening it, all right? So just make sure, again, you either make a backup before you close the year or be prepared to live with it after it's closed. You can always run reports. You just can't post any transactions or corrections. Okay? All right. Let me see what questions we got coming in here. If the accounting year is changed on the server, does that affect users on other workstations that are entering donations or doing other year tasks? That's a good question, Christy. Yeah, if you change the accounting year on the server, it changes it for everybody on your network. It's a network-wide function. So accounting year has changed. It's a shared database essentially, so everybody sees and reads and writes to the same accounting database. So once you run it on the server at any machine, it's updated for everybody. Great question. If we add the new year this early, do we need to update the beginning balances every time we continue to work in the current year? That's a good question, Barbara. I would update them, I would make sure that they're updated once I begin posting transactions in the new year so I'm getting correct reports. There's no harm in doing it, okay? So if you decide to open the new year and update them once a week between now and the end of the year, great, good for you. No worries. It just brings forward whatever your amended balances are. The key, though, is you want to update them one final time when the church says they're done with 2016 once and for all. Okay? By not closing the prior year, does that permit entering information into that prior year? Good question, Denise. Yes. If the year is not closed, a user could go back into the prior year and post transactions, essentially changing those accounting totals by mistake. That doesn't mean that the beginning balances would be brought forward unless somebody did that, but absolutely, without a year being the hard close feature being used, prior year's transactions could be changed by mistake. Do you recommend that we do a hard close on the previous year when we are done processing transactions for a year and have reconciled all accounts and the annual report is complete, or is that better not to do and maintain flexibility? Oh, that's a good question, Sue. Honestly, I can't decide that for you. The church has to decide that. As long as you're aware, again, yeah, I don't see any reason as to why you wouldn't want to close it, as long as you know that you're finished with posting transactions, as long as you don't need to close or post any transactions or do any other work in it and are okay with the reports, close it, sure. You still have the reports as long as you're okay with understanding. So, somebody can't come back to you, a month after you close a year and say, hey, Sue, I need you to go back in and make a change. Also, if there's an audit that's being done annually at the church or you're having an audit done, you may want to hold off until the auditors have approved that previous year too. So, again, that's another question. That's really, again, more of a question for folks at the church there. Once that is all done, transactions shouldn't be posted in the previous year anymore and should be adjusted in the current year. Yeah, once the year is closed, there's nothing we can do to post any transactions in the prior year. That's all there is to it. Okay, I'm not seeing any other questions coming in here. Maybe folks are typing those in, so I know these can be lengthy. I hope that helped. Yeah, the hard close feature, folks, while it's not a requirement of church windows, is if the church absolutely wants to ensure that no prior changes should be made to the prior year and you're unsure if you have or folks have the discipline to prevent that from occurring, close the year. Okay? It's that simple. As long as the church has signed off on final reports for the year and everything else, they're good with these balance sheet totals, our treasurer's report totals are good, our bank reconciliations are finished. As long as the data no longer needs to change, you can close the year. But honestly, folks, every year in a week or two into January, we'll get a couple of churches or users that'll call into support and say, hey, I closed my year and I need to go back and make a change to that prior year, and we have to apologize and say, I'm sorry, but we can't do it. We can't undo it. If you do close the year, folks, just make sure not to do it too prematurely. Okay, there's no requirement on when it has to be done. So you could wait until, December of 2017 and go back and close 16 if you want. It's your choice. Okay? All right. I'm not seeing any other questions coming in. Yeah, Kathy, that is a topic about the deleting years function. That's another webinar topic. We're well over our 20 minutes now. We'll do another webinar on that topic at some point here, I think between now and the end of December. I think you actually there is a recorded webinar from 2015 on our YouTube channel about deleting accounting years already there. If you go to youtube.com/church windows, if we type in search under deleting, yep, right here, version 18, deleting accounts and accounting years, that'll discuss all of that. Or you can hold off and attend the webinar I think that we're going to have scheduled here in the next few weeks. Good question. All right. Looks like folks are diving out pretty quickly here. I'm not seeing any other questions coming in. I'll go ahead and end the webinar for everybody. Again, this recording will be available on our YouTube channel by no later than this coming Friday at 5 p.m. Eastern Time, and we look forward to seeing you at another Church Windows webinar event. All right, thank you all so much. Hope everybody has a wonderful and safe Thanksgiving, and we'll see you next week. All right, thank you. Bye-bye.